Hey everybody, Shawn here. Thanks for tuning in. This is the REVV Amplification Generator 100P. It's a really great sounding 2-channel amp, 100 watts. This one's got EL34 power tubes in it, but you can use KT88s or 6L6s. It sounds definitely more British and a little bit more aggressive with those EL34s in there, and you'll hear it in the demo. Now this one has the popular purple channel from the REVV Generator 120 amp. They wanted to kind of facilitate a 100 watt platform, 2-channel kind of thing. So what you're getting is the clean and crunch that you would get from the Generator 120 or the 740, any of that series, but you're getting the very popular purple channel instead of the red channel as your second channel. Now the purple channel just sounds quite a bit tighter. It's a little bit more aggressive. If you're a metal player, it's really well suited to that. If you're into kind of the gent style, it's super tight for that. Now I'm neither of those, and I'm definitely not a shredder. I think I tend to grate guitars more than shred them, but it really worked well for my approach. I didn't want to attempt to try to do a metal style demo because there's guys that have already done that and they would bury me at it. So I just stick to what I do and let this amp kind of drag things out of me, and it sure did. It's a very musical sounding amplifier. So just really quick, I'm not going to go super in depth in the description because we'll do that in the demo, but you've got 2 channels, essentially your clean channel and your dirty channel. The clean channel has 2 modes, a clean, which is blue, and a crunch, which is green. And then the second channel, your purple channel, is going to be your high gain, and you're going to be able to choose between a couple different levels of aggression, which change gain and dynamics, as well as a bright switch, a fat switch, and a contour switch. And you're also on both channels able to switch from 100 all the way down to 10 watts if you choose. Over here you've got 2 separate masters that you can switch between, which I thought was genius. And then you've got an overall presence and depth control. And then over here you've got an effects loop, which is a tube-driven effects loop. Sounds great. You can turn that on and off. And you also can store MIDI presets. This amp is fully MIDI compatible, and that's how you would store. And you also have an overall mute switch. So if you want to mute the output of the amplifier, you can. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this REVV Generator 100P. Okay, let's check out this REVV Amps Generator 100P. That sound you were just hearing is the clean sound on this amp. It's in the first channel in the blue mode. Really sweet sounding channel, just enough compression and it stays pretty darn clean. Now what I'll do really quick is I'll just sweep the controls. They're really straight ahead on this guy. Treble, mid, and bass, kind of what you think it is. The level control is the overall level for this channel. Now when we go to the crunch mode, then you do get a crunch gain, and we'll get into that in just a second, but I'll just sweep these controls real quick. It's kind of a fatter mid. The bass gets really big on this. It depends on what cab you're using. Even rolled all the way up, it doesn't get totally out of control. It still sounds really big. Now I'm using a 2x12 closed back Bogner, so I can run it a little bit softer, but if you were using like a 1x12 little ported cab or something, you could still get it to sound huge by rolling that bass up and down, as well as the depth control, and we'll get into that in a second. So those are the controls, the treble, mid, bass. Now without touching anything, I'm just going to bump it to the green channel. Now all of this can be done via foot switch, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to do everything from the front panel on the amp. Here's the green channel. Now this was one of my favorite channels on the amp. I have a Generator 740, and the clean channel and the crunch channel are exactly the same. And I really like playing through this channel because it's got just enough bite. And it switches back and forth really well between like a humbucker or a neck position tone. Now with this, I can turn up the gain on this channel by using the crunch gain. So you can get a lot of sting out of that thing if you want to. Now I like it, dialed back. Especially when I want to go from my clean to my crunch. So it's really great sounding. Now there's a lot of top end there, but if you want to add even more, there's a crunch bright switch, and that only affects the crunch setting. You can get a lot more sting. Just depends on the guitar you have and cabinet you're using, but that's a really useful setting. So we've covered the clean, we've covered the crunch. Let's go to the purple channel now. And what I'm going to do is just let you hear it without any of the aggression, fat, bright, or contour switches on. I'll kind of roll the EQ and then we'll go from there. So there's already quite a bit of gain on tap, as you can hear, and that's without adding any of the aggression. Before I get into that, let me just roll these controls. They're straight ahead as well. You've got treble, mid, and bass. So they're really useful, nice sounding controls. As you roll the gain up, you'll get more low end, so you kind of adjust as you go. So I'm going to leave it set exactly the way it is, except for that one bass change, and let you hear the aggression modes. So I'll start with the blue mode, then we'll go to the red mode. Now the blue mode adds more gain, but it also makes the amp, it kind of changes the dynamics of the amp. It's a little more gain, but there's definitely more of just kind of a bite there, and it was actually one of my favorite settings. Now I'll go straight from the blue mode to the red mode. So that's way more gain, but it's also another dynamic on the amp. It's a little more sizzly up top, definitely more aggressive. Now where the bright switch can come into play is on, say you've got a tone like this and you want even more top end. So that's a great setting. Let's go to, let me switch it back to the blue mode, and we'll go to the fat setting so you can hear that. I really like that for dialing in solo tones. That was especially nice when I was dialing in, especially single coil kind of Strat sounds. Now the other setting, I'll shut all this other stuff off, is the contour switch. And that's just kind of changing the mid dynamics. Here, I'll let you hear it. So it's kind of adding this kind of mid bump characteristic, which I think would be great, once again, for dialing in solo sounds and getting things to kind of fit just right. Let's listen to the bright switch, or did I go to the bright switch? Oh, I did. Yeah, we got the bright, we got the fat, we got the aggression modes, we hit the contour. Let's just real quick check out the mode switch for the 100 watt to 10 watt setting. So right now we're 100 watts, so we're cooking. I'll switch it to 10. Now, obviously, that's, you know, a huge volume reduction. But it still sounds great. And what I love is now you can kind of start cranking that level up. And you can get a way more aggressive tone because you're hitting the power section a lot harder. And then if you still needed to turn up, you could go ahead and hit your master volume. But that is just a huge tone. So I would say yes, absolutely. If you're going to play at bedroom levels, that's a very effective setting. Sounds and feels great, but also just for recording, it's another, once again, one of the many dynamics you can bring into what this amp is capable of. Now let me hit these master controls really quick. I'll explain them to you. I'll go back to 100 watts. Basically how these work is it's going to allow you to choose between the two on the fly, either via the front panel or the foot switch. So say you're loving like this tone at this volume, but without changing the level or anything here, you need a solo bump. So we could go to the second master. Now I've got the foot switch in front of me, I can do the same thing. So that's a very practical use of these. Now the presence, I'll let you hear it, I'll just sweep it. And the depth. Now, once again, because I was using my 2x12 Bogner, I didn't need as much depth control, but it's really great that it's there because if you want to go bigger on a smaller cabinet, that's a really useful control. Now, the rest of these switches, I showed you how the master switch works. You've got a mute switch to basically mute the amp overall, no output. This store switch here is for MIDI control. This amp is fully MIDI controllable, and that's how you would do your presets or store your presets. And last but not least is the effects loop on or off. Now you can do it either from the front panel on the amp, or you can do it via foot switch. The effects loop is series and it's tube driven and it has a level control and it sounds and works fabulous. So that is the REVV Generator 100P. If you've got any further questions, go to the website and check it out. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you next time.